This is the new Callaway Rogue iron, and this is my full review of this new iron set. Callaway claim they feature the 360 face cup technology and variable face thickness to keep ball speed hot off-centered hits. Urethane microspheres, which is what they're claiming is giving you less vibrations. So even though this is a power club, it's not supposed to feel or sound like a power club. We're going to see if that's the truth. And also they've got more tungsten weighting to help precisely locate the center of gravity lower to give more forgiveness. And that's where Callaway are targeting these irons, for forgiveness, distance. They're also bringing out Rogue Pro, which I will test on the channel, and they're also bringing out Rogue X, which are, what Callaway claiming, unapologetically long, just by cranking the lofts effectively. So I've had the 4, the 7 and the pitching wedge with me for the last few weeks. I have tested them on GC Quad indoor, hit loads of different shots to give you all the data, and I've also taken these clubs out on the golf course to give you a real life situation to see how they perform on the course as well. I'm also going to answer your questions from the First Look First Hit video around the Rogue irons, and I'm going to give my final summary of the new Callaway Rogue irons for 2018. Okay, so what have we got with the Rogue irons? As I mentioned, we've got forgiveness aplenty. That's where Callaway are trying to position these irons for the more maybe higher to mid handicapper who wants distance and wants forgiveness. So they featured this 360 face cup technology, which they've had for a while. The face is giving you more forgiveness, which is what they're claiming. And these little microspheres, these Urethane microspheres behind the head, which are apparently a way of being able to give a real soft feel, even though this club is cast. I'm interested to see if that is going to be the case. I apologise in advance about the quality of the close-ups. These are the conditions Callaway sent these clubs to me. They don't look very good at all. They're quite scratched. So that's not, I test them as soon as, I filmed the close-ups as soon as they came out of the box, but they're pretty damaged in the first instance, which is a real shame. So I jumped on GC Quad. I hit Pro V1s with the clubs. Give me some idea on lofts. So the 7 iron sits at 30 degrees of loft, which is on the strong side of the spectrum. The 4 iron I have is 20.5 degrees of loft, and the pitching wedge is in at 44 degrees of loft. So on the strong side, compared to most brands really, stay tuned to the Callaway Rogue X iron when I review that, because that is stupidly strong lofted. Let's start off with the 7 iron data. So I hit loads of shots and I was getting these numbers from the Callaway 7 iron. I was average carrying the ball 178 yards, which is pretty decent carry distance for a strong 7 iron. I was getting spin rates at quite a low, what felt like quite a damaging number, lower than 5,000 RPM. The ball speed was hot at 120 miles per hour. That was pretty decent ball speed. And I was getting some decent flight. So even for the 7 iron, I didn't seem like it was going that low. Even though the spin was low, the peak height was 31 yards up in the air, and the ball was coming down at almost 45-degree angle. So I didn't have any massive concerns when testing it on GC Quad that the ball wouldn't stop. And we'll see if that was the case out on the golf course as well. So let's go into the 4 iron next. This is 20.5 degrees of loft. My average carry distance for the 4 iron was 207 yards of average carry distance. I was getting ball speeds of nearly 134 miles per hour, which is really good for a 4 iron from when I've tested them in the past. The spin rate for me was a little bit on the low side at 3.2. And if I'm honest, the distance was maybe not as maximum as I'd like it to have been. I did hit some low heely shots, which still got decent total distance, but I expected the total distance maybe to be knocking on the door nearer for me for 215 yards of carry distance. I didn't hit every single one of them pure, but they were my average numbers. Okay, so moving into pitching wedge next at 44 degrees of loft. I was carrying the ball 142 yards on average, 34 peak height of yards, and then 50 descent angle. Even though the spin was still really low at only 7,500 RPM. The way that the ball was flying, the way that the ball was going through the air and the height, I didn't really feel like the ball was, I felt like the ball was still going to stop pretty quickly. I was going to see if that was going to be the case on the course. Feel-wise, I struggled to see any real difference from these microspheres behind the head. For me, they still felt pretty clicky, pretty loud, not the best feeling irons I've hit. But it's interesting how they're trying to experiment with different feels and different sounds by not always changing the material that they're making the club out of, or the forging material they make the iron out of either. This is more of a different approach to it, which I admire, but for me I didn't see that much of a difference compared to any other Callaway iron I've hit in this category in the past. So those numbers at the moment were good. I wasn't massively offended by them at all. They kind of hit the right criteria for the lofts. I didn't expect anything much different. The one thing I just did briefly was had a look at some gapping differences that maybe we might start to see. And I found that the long end of the spectrum was only maybe 9 to 10 yards of difference of carry if I was to add a 5 and a 6 iron in there as a rough average. And then from the 7 iron down, I've seen more of a 12-yard gapping differences. So that might cause a problem for some golfers in the way that they gap their irons, and whether they may move into some more hybrids, etc., into the long clubs. That might make a better alternative than the 4 iron, certainly in this kind of category of iron as well. So decent so far on the indoor testing on GC Quad, and I took them out on the golf course. I went over to West Lancs and I hit loads of different shots out on the course. I tested the 4, the 7 and the pitching wedge out there, different lies, different conditions to see how they all featured. So one of the first holes I hit him on, this was a little dogleg to the right. I hit a weak, fadey kind of 4 iron. It went into right rough, but it was okay. It wasn't that damaging, but it was an off-centered hit. And then the next shot I hit off that same tee with the same 4 iron, I absolutely nutted it. Straight down my target line, great flight, great distance into the prime location. I chipped a couple of wedges into that next green, one from the deep rough, which actually did pretty well. It went up to the moon. It went so high, it was unreal. I also chipped one in there as well with the second ball, and it actually both landed almost perfectly on the green. Both stopped quickly, mainly because of the height rather than any spin characteristics what I saw. They were just going up to space. And the pitching wedge kind of looks quite spoon-shaped and gives you that feeling that you're going to get the ball really high up in the air with that pitching wedge. The next hole, I was a bit too close to the green to really test the 7 iron. So what I decided to do is trying to kind of play some bump and run shots in there. So trying to control the power, because this is sometimes an issue with power irons, is how can you control them? And if I'm honest, I actually played them quite nicely in there. They still didn't feel like they gave me a lot of feel or response, which is what I was seeing inside. But the shots that I managed to manipulate were pretty good. And in the final hole, I hit some more irons down off the tee shot. Again, saw some really good results. And then I hit some 7 irons into the green to see if they would stop. So I was hitting them off the fairway into the green, and you can see a couple of shots here landing into the green, stopping with no difficulties at all. And that really for me is all down to that height. When I was hitting the 7 iron, I was looking at the flight from the loft was telling me one thing, that I was expecting to see a flight that was lower. But when I actually looked up and saw the ball flight, they were way higher than what I expected. And because of that, they landed really soft and actually stuck on the green nicely. So on-course testing, I saw similar characteristics from a feel standpoint. I still felt they were quite clicky, quite hard. I wasn't really getting a load of information around that kind of euthane, microspheres behind the face. But what I was seeing was good power off the tee with the long irons. I was seeing some great wedge shots. And to be fair, the 7 iron stopped into the green as well. So not anything wrong with the irons, if I'm honest. They kind of did what they needed to do out on the golf course. So let's answer some of the questions now coming in from the first look, first hit. One of the big questions was, where do these sit in relying to Epic irons? And that's a really interesting question, because the driver, the Rogue driver, from what Callaway are claiming, is not replacing the Epic driver, which I seem, for me, is a little bit of a marketing kind of spiel in the way that they're saying, no, Epic, guys, the people that have just bought Epic, you're okay. Your driver's not redundant yet, but we're bringing out Rogue, and it's better, and it's faster, and it's longer. Do you know, it kind of that weird sense that the Epic guys going, is this right, or am I getting kind of, is there a new product out there? But Callaway claiming that product still remains in the marketplace. And from what I understand is the same story with the irons. Now the Epic irons was a massive talking point last year because they went high-end price-wise, $2,000 minimum price for the Epic irons. And there was a lot of hoo-ha around the irons, and for me actually when I tested them, I really liked the Epic irons. I didn't massively like the price tag, but certainly the feel on some of the irons was superb. Looks and finish was exceptional. Now, you compare that to Rogue, and for me, these two products sit in a completely different marketplace. Not so much on performance, because I would say there's similar characteristics in performance, but for me, feel and price, that's where they separate the Epic irons and the Rogue iron. Let me just grab an Epic iron. So when I look at the finish of these two irons, for me, the finish is far greater with the Epic iron. And for me, the feel was much nicer with the Epic iron too. Now, what you've got to bear in mind, this is nearly double the price. So the Rogue iron set you're not going to get a lot of change out of $1,000 or £1,000. You're not going to get a lot of a change for a 7/8 iron set. But these bad boys, you're not getting a set of these for less than $2,000, certainly when they first came out. So you could get two sets of irons for the Rogue. You could get one here at home, and you can get one potentially at holiday home or leave them at the golf club for the same price as you would get at Epic irons. But if feel is mega important and looks and finish is super important, and let's be honest, if you've got the price to pay for the Epic irons, I think many more golfers potentially would go for that. You put these two irons in the same price category, then for me it's no contest. Epic wins every single day. Okay, so the summary. The question I've been asking in the latest reviews is, would I put these clubs in my bag? For me, they don't fit into my kind of criteria. For me, they're a little bit too hard, a little bit too powerful. So the answer would be no. However, I do actually quite like them. I actually think, apart from maybe the feel, which they've still not quite got right in this power iron, in my opinion, I think the numbers were great. I think the forgiveness levels are good. I felt very impressed with how they performed out on the golf course. I didn't alarm me at all that these clubs would not work on the golf course. I think they've just got this slight fear that if they start to go a little bit stronger than this kind of realm of 7-iron being 30 degrees, then you start to get into the wrong kind of category. It turns into a 5-iron, which is where they've gone down with Rogue X. And stay tuned to the channel because I will actually test those. And stay tuned to the channel. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit that subscribe button, like the video if you enjoyed the video, and comment down below. But for me, these irons fit a criteria. They are for a slightly middle to higher handicapper golfer who maybe is not so much bothered about feel. They like the look of it and they just want a club that performs. That's where these irons sit for me. Decent irons, but maybe not massively different to what they've brought out in the past. Guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, like I said before, smash that like button. Stay tuned to the channel by subscribing. It's free to do. And if you hit the icon bell, it keeps you connected. Every time I release a video, you get notified so you don't miss a single video. Stay tuned, lots more to come. I've got the Callaway Rogue Pro irons coming soon, and I've also got the Callaway Rogue X irons. I'm excited about testing those because we're talking sub 28 degree 7-iron loft. I said it. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned, lots more to come. Stay tuned for next, the Rogue Pro irons coming soon.